Welcome to Colorado Tech People, where we talk with founders building technology that brings people together in meaningful ways. Today's episode explores how digital tools can help foster real-world connections through sports and recreation. I'm joined by PJ Bullock, founder of Pickup Play, an app designed to make it easier for people to find pickup games and build community through shared activity. We'll discuss the challenges of building a two-sided marketplace, the importance of trust and safety, and how technology can help people stay active and connected. Let's get started. Welcome, PJ. Thank you for joining the show.
Monisha, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be on the show and to share a little bit of our experience in building Pickup Play.
Great. So maybe to start, please could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and Pickup Play, including what it is, the problem it's trying to solve, and its audience?
Absolutely. So a little bit about myself. I spent a career as a executive within corporate development and M&A. So I was a strategist, investment banker, working within healthcare, primarily doing large acquisitions to bring into our portfolio. And then I decided to go on this entrepreneurial journey. I think the gap I saw is that what happens to us in adulthood. When we're kids, we prioritize having time within our day to go play. We set aside recess time for our kids in school. We go to the playgrounds. I remember as a kid taking on this mindset of the Sandlot mentality, where there was that space within the neighborhood that everybody met to go interact with one another and just play games. And, as we age and we take on more responsibilities and our day get more and more packed, it just becomes harder and harder to carve out that time in that space. So when I looked at how it was being done today, it was largely being done through messaging apps and group chats and text threads. The gap I saw really was in how do you start to connect and gather your friends in order to say, I'm interested in playing a game today.
And why would somebody use Pickup Play instead of organizing games in a group chat?
The shortcomings of messaging apps or group chats is you're limited to the members that are within your thread. We have, this group chat that's dedicated to a certain activity, but it only has about 50 or 100 people in there. And our lives are continuously evolving. So someone might be in the group, but they've moved to a new city or they've taken on a new job or they have kids. And so you're trapped within the dynamics of the memberships of the group. And one of the things that we really focus on with the design of Pickup Play is allowing for you to not only tap into your own network, but into everybody else's, to find people that might not even be in your network today, but know them through degrees of separation. So I did find that the group chats as a way to do spontaneous communication and messaging, you were still sort of trapped within a critical mass issue. It still had trouble pulling together enough players for a game because you only had so many people defined within that single group.
That makes a lot of sense. What were the biggest challenges faced when building a two-sided marketplace with players and organizers?
I think for anyone that is trying to solve this problem of a marketplace, and for me, I jokingly say I'm building a network marketplace. It's not just two-sided where there is one consumer and a business. There really is multiple consumers that are coming together into an asset that's called a game, right? And that roster has multiple people on it. And it really is a group element that's interacting with businesses like rec centers and sports complexes in order to book field and space reservations. So it is a network marketplace or a two-sided marketplace, but I think for anyone that's out there in the technical space trying to develop or build a product, you really have to understand what needs you're addressing for both sides and what their pain points are. A lot of times we immediately start into the needs of the consumer, because often that's sort of how our inspiration comes. We see a problem that we would want for ourselves as a consumer. And it's really important as you're doing this market research to understand what the needs are of the business. What do the businesses want and why would these two groups interact? Being able to clearly define both sides of the marketplace and how your solution is solving those pain points will really help to bridge the gaps.
And what were the pain points that you saw for the organizers, for example?
That's a great point. Well, the pain point in organizing a game today is rallying together enough people and coordinating among multiple different people to try to bring a game together. So if I wanted to go play basketball right now, I need to get 10, and sometimes you want more just to have, for substitutes, 12, 15 people. If I'm trying to do a baseball game, it's 18. And so this coordination among multiple individuals, it is like herding cats, right? And so I did see that people need enough people to fill out a roster. And oftentimes games were falling apart because you would have a handful of people that were interested in playing, but not enough to actually run a game together. So being able to continue to tap in, being able to distribute out the information that you're trying to play and that you have a group that's trying to play, and then being able to seamlessly coordinate among them, that was the biggest pain point that I saw for our user base, which we call players.
And were there any hard decisions that you took?
I think for every founder, the hardest decisions are really what to focus on initially. Roadmap creep or feature creep, it can happen really, really quickly because a lot of us are sort of creative visionaries that see the possibility of what our solution can do and how we can go about solving these problems. And so being very, very, very prescriptive about where to start and what is truly addressing that customer's pain point, those are some of the hardest decisions that I felt that I needed to start with because we were building something that was really cool. A pickup sports app. As I speak to people out in the marketplace, there's so many different ways and avenues that we could take this product, but being able to just be very, very, very selective on where we're going to start and focus effort to test the market, I think those are the biggest decisions that start to come up. There's a lot of cool stuff that I want to do. It just needs to wait until we have the capacity to get there.
And how did you validate demand before investing heavily in building the product?
It took me a while to build up the courage to start investing in the product. I started off the beginning of the call with my background being in strategy and corporate development. I might have overanalyzed and had a little bit of analysis paralysis. So one of the ways I tested the market was just doing desktop diligence. What solutions are out there today? How are they going about solving the problem? And how big is this market segment? One of the best ways just to get started is just to really understand the landscape of the space that you're trying to go into. I then talked to a lot of customers. My customers are primarily rec centers, sports complexes, and facilities, and tried to understand what their challenges are. And one of the biggest that I found was capacity utilization, right? And this was also validated through the industry reports that I saw within this space. And that's one side of the marketplace, right? So one side of the marketplace is how do I help address businesses that have space that's available to be reserved? And why are they having issues filling this and having sort of idle time on their books? And then on the other side, I went out and I had the best job in the world doing market research within the area of pickup sports. I would jump into games. I would play a lot of pickleball, ultimate frisbee, basketball. Volleyball was a huge part of my life, and just starting to understand how people went about organizing these games. And of course, I got invited to about 30 different group chats everywhere.
And what monetization model are you planning on pursuing? And are there other monetization models that you've thought about, but you're like, no, I'm not going to do that?
I banged my head on the wall for about a year when I was thinking through pickup play. And I think it is really important for anyone that is creative and technical to really think about, okay, how do we pursue a viable commercial strategy? How do we monetize what we're building and understanding the pain points? Where I began on my journey was I wanted to bring more play into this world. I was getting so much joy out of playing with my friends. How do I bottle this up and package it for other people? Then the question comes as you go out and talk to investors and share your idea. Well, how does it make money? That was a big question for me, right? That's where this other element of the research of finding the business problem for sports complexes and facilities, that they start to understand that there's an opportunity to do group reservations and bookings and to do and to get on a transaction of a fee cut. So as we're going out and doing a group reservation, it costs sometimes $200, $300 per hour to book a space. That is a really hard upfront cost for one individual, right? But if you have 20 people, that's a much easier sort of payment to consider, right? There are transactions happening within the recreational sports space. Some of them are largely player enrollment into programs and coaching and tournaments. There's all reservations that need to occur to book the space. There's advertisement opportunity for other equipment and goods providers to potentially target the player universe. You really do start to look at, okay, within this space that I'm solving a problem for, where is money flowing between the parties, and how can I help facilitate that exchange? We did think reservations and group bookings was a big one for us, as well as player enrollment and membership into sports programs and leagues.
It makes a lot of sense. Were there other monetization models you decided not to pursue, or was that like the obvious one that you followed, that you came upon?
I mean, it's hard, especially as the founder. Trying to get to revenue as quickly as possible is important, and a lot of thinking around how could we essentially charge subscriptions to the user base, any type of tokenization strategy. We're still looking at a couple of options within that area, and it could be something that as we prove out demand and the value within the platform, that people would pay to sign up. But the alternative today is free. WhatsApp and Telegram and some of these other ones are free for users. I do think we are on hold of trying to charge users, trying to put a whole bunch of ads in there and really focus on where is the biggest, opportunity. And that's within group reservations.
That makes sense. So you decided against advertising, for example, at least for now.
For now, I personally get annoyed when I open up an app and I feel like I'm being constantly bombarded with stuff being pushed my way. It's a strategy that some businesses have to pursue if they don't have other monetization mechanisms. But since we did find a pretty big one, we decided to hold off on cluttering the platform with banners.
And what has been the biggest challenge in convincing investors that the marketplace can scale?
It's a great question. I think the biggest challenge is really taking the time to get into the investor mindset in a similar way that we talked about doing the research for the two sides of the marketplace. There's this other side, which is the investor's mindset and how they're going to look at potentially getting return for their business. There is this existing underground network of people trying to organize games today. And that's not clearly defined. That's just you and me reaching out to our friends, trying to pull a game together, or saying, hey, we should go play softball this weekend. That's not a really well-defined market. Being able to show that this interaction has taken place and how big and how frequently this was occurring. That was part of the research that went into the data room and the investor materials, and how that ties into the other side, which is how many complexes and facilities are out there? How much empty space do they have? How much do they charge? Being able to show not just your TAM, SAM, and SOM, but the drivers that go into calculating how you arrived at the market size. That's what investors are looking for. Tell me that you really understand the customers and how big this market is, and what is the type of reasonable sort of rate at which you can capture that given your traction to date. The investors are going to take a hard look at, is this believable and obtainable given what you're building?
And what product decisions made pick-up play fundamentally easier than how people organize games today?
My favorite product decision was the add player button. So when you create a game, and if you download and use the system, it's a better way to coordinate games among your friends. It's similar to an event system like Partiful, but we have this add player button that allows for you to easily distribute and send out either within your own network, within other players' networks, or outside of network. So distribution of the game became a really valuable feature for you to be able to get enough people to make sure a game can happen. We also allow for you to tap or rotate in players that are maybe not part of your network, but are available nearby. We allow for almost like a whiteboard for players to say, I'm available to play this evening. I'm free to play. I'm PJ. a basketball player at a level 4, if you're trying to put a game together, I'm here and available. And so you can actually send them to make sure that you have your 10th player to come in and join the game. I really love the feature that we have on being able to send out additional invitations to make sure that you have enough players.
Great feature. Community is at the heart of pickup sports. How do you design the app to foster real-world connections rather than just digital interactions?
Manisha, that's a great question. This is constantly on my mind. We have released an MVP. We've gotten a ton of market feedback. We are still iterating on landing product market fit. And I think this question is exactly at the heart of the feedback and the insights that we're receiving from users to really make sure that you can establish the trust and confidence to actually go out and join a game. I'm realizing not everybody's like me. I'm a pickup sports junkie. I spent all this time going out and jumping into games, but that's a different mindset than I think a lot of people have. And where I started with the design of the product was I wanted to keep it really simple. We're building a social networking platform, but I didn't want people addicted to the platform. I wanted for them to be driven to go do an in real life event. I want you off your phone and I want you out on a field playing volleyball. That was the intention. However, there is some trust building that has to occur within the community to actually get them to go out and go to that field and meet new people. And so there is this balance between not trying to keep people on the system, but also giving them enough security and confidence and icebreakers within being able to interact with one another in the digital space before they interact with one another in real life. And so I'm still working on this balance. I'm looking at dating apps and how dating apps allow for people to have some soft touch interactions before they go and have a coffee together. That's the considerations that are going into the next iteration of the product.
Another thing that you see on dating apps is more of a profile, like more information about somebody. Are you thinking about incorporating that into Pickup Play?
Absolutely. So I love our player profile. Right? Player profile is at the heart of what we're doing. When I come in and define what my play persona is, this is who I am and how I enjoy spending my free time. On LinkedIn, you go in and you build a professional profile. I'm PJ, 20 years within the corporate world, doing investment banking, valuations, M&A. And if you have an interest in this field or healthcare or SaaS, connect with me. And that's a huge part of who I am. But there's this other part of who I am, which is what I do in my free time and how I like to spend my free time, and finding other people that not only align with me in terms of the sport or the game that I'm interested in, but are also at or around my skill level. This becomes really valuable for the matching and clustering of people together to find the right people to have a fun game. Because there's nothing worse than feeling intimidated as you step onto a court and feeling like you can't hang at that level. So let us help find you other players that are at or around your level so that you can feel more confident entering into a game. And that's where the player profiles that really help you find the right group.
What lessons have you learned about building trust and safety into a platform that brings strangers together?
I think the first thing that I'm learning is that trust isn't going to come from the platform. It's coming from people that you already know in real life. So if I'm inviting you to come play, I'm the connector that sends the invitation and you trust me. If you're unable to play, but you know somebody that can fill in, the fact that you made that referral, I have trust in that area too, because you're referring to me somebody that I know can join the game. So I see that as I'm designing the system to really keep that human element front and center, that trust gets built from the people you know and the people that you've interacted with in real life. One of the things that we learned early on was we would send a game invitation and it would have our logo on it. Well, people don't know my logo. I haven't built the brand identity yet, but they know who Monisha is. So if a game invite says Monisha has invited you to play, as opposed to Pickup Play has invited you to play, that human to human in a time where we are just so overwhelmed with digital options, that is going to build more trust within our platform.
How has building Pickup Play in Colorado influenced your growth?
It's been amazing. Colorado is one of the best states for a couple reasons. The first is we have a active, healthy culture here within the state. We play in nature. We go in the mountains. We go skiing. You see a lot of triathletes. There's a different mindset here. When people ask you what you do, oftentimes they don't mean for work. They mean, what's your thing? Do you fly fish? Do you bike? I think that's one of the most amazing things about Colorado is people really do take pride in how they spend quality time outside of work. And so that was a great base for me to get started. As I was out there playing and meeting people, I just felt that the community was really, really strong to begin with. Also, just from the startup entrepreneurial space, being in Boulder, Colorado, there is a great entrepreneurial mindset here. There's a fantastic community within the Boulder startup world to kind of share in the journey, to help you network. CU Boulder has fantastic programs for innovation and venture growth. I'm working with Regis out of Denver as well. The state also has programs to help provide grants and additional funding and tax supports for people that are innovating and creating within the state of Colorado. Colorado is one of these emerging tech hubs because of the fact that we're putting such an emphasis on building and creating, as well as doing things that are socially responsible and sustainable. Colorado has that mindset as well. It's kind of ingrained in who we are, probably because of our love for the mountains and our connection to the landscape. So if your business is in that area of kind of hitting not only a good business strategy, but also, improves society and well-being, I think this is a great place to do that. The first thing that I realized after spending a year building a mobile native product was a lot of people got turned away from downloading an app, and app fatigue was real. Biggest user feedback was, you got to make this really, really, really simple for me. I do not have the amount of time to give to your product as someone like me would, because I built it and I love it. I'm passionate about it. You really only have about 10 to 15 seconds before you lose somebody's attention. So reviewing this onboarding process for me became very, very, very valuable. Being able to sell on emotion as opposed to features. People really do respond to sort of an emotional element in terms of salesmanship than hey, it can do this for you or this for you or that for you. Really listening to the customers, because I am finding that users want this solution, but they don't want to do more work. And they're already doing a lot of work within WhatsApp and all these other group chats. How do you take stuff off their plate, and not add more? And I did find that even the redirecting into the App Store or Google Play to download was additional work.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. App fatigue and people's attention spans at challenging times.
It really is.
What assumption about building this product turned out to be wrong once real users started using it?
The biggest feature we have is starting a game. I thought that starting a game would be just a simple thing for people. And that assumption was wrong. A lot of people saw this as a heavy lift, that they're essentially signing up for something that they weren't necessarily ready to go do. And so that's why, as we are kind of working on our MVP and reworking it, that there were smaller things that sort of build this confidence and trust before they're ready to go start a game. So going back to that dating app analogy, I was essentially connecting people and saying, all right, go have coffee at the Starbucks. And they're going, well, wait a minute. I want to like their photo first, and I want to be able to swipe right, and I want to be able to chat a little bit and maybe send them a rose or something. There are these warming up icebreaker steps that have to occur before somebody has enough motivation to go do something like start a game. For us, start a game.
Were there any features that seemed like a good idea, but you ultimately decided not to build? You mentioned earlier that the roadmap can have scope creep, and you can think about all these amazing things to build, but then it's just too much. So are there any examples of features that you thought about that you decided not to build?
The one that I think I get most excited about is gamification of the player profile, right? Like the stuff that I could do in order to really excite people and encourage people to be more active within the community and to go play more. I think there's so much that can be done within the player profile. It had to just kind of take a back seat for a little bit until we really work on the game engine and sort of getting the games going. When I speak with people and have coffee lunches and dates and we talk about the product, oh gosh, the amount of sort of ideation that occurs around, gamifying the profiles, it's exciting. It's just not time yet.
What's a mistake you made early in building pickup play that taught you an important lesson? And how did it change the way that you make decisions today?
I was too afraid to get started. And so to everybody out there that's questioning whether or not they should go do or pursue an opportunity, go do it. Just get started. I spent, over a decade in corporate strategy for a large medical device company in healthcare. And so if I was going to propose a strategy or to a large initiative, I needed to be rock solid, certain that this is what we wanted to do, that this wasn't going to disrupt our customer base, that if we're going to push something through this large organization, that it needed to be iron tight. And that's not true for entrepreneurs. Go fail and go fail fast. It's okay if they call your baby ugly. Like, these are the type of sort of rejection battle scars that you're going to have to go through as a founder. And whatever's in your brain, the market's going to tell you exactly what it is that they want and they need. So getting started earlier, start today. And that is also true when it comes to fundraising. I wanted to make sure that when I was out trying to raise capital, that I was at a certain point or a certain effort. I wish I started earlier. Because these things are processes, they take time, and you have to build confidence and conviction, which only comes from putting yourself out there.
What is one book every builder should read and why?
Every builder, okay. I love the book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It is a 12-week workbook that essentially helps you tap into your creative potential. And so It basically sits on the premise that everyone was created by the creator to create. And we all have this creative potential in us. And how do you do exercises to tap into your creative potential and to get rid of any type of emotional or mental blocking that's stopping you from going out and pursuing and building this thing that you want? And so it is a fantastic read. It is a lot of writing and self-reflection and looking at your life and your past to say, what's stopping me from building or expanding the vision of what I'm building into what it could truly be. So if you have not read or done the exercise of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, I would strongly recommend doing it. It's one of those things that sort of, changed my perspective, and I still do my morning pages every morning.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've read that book. I'm not doing my morning pages though, so you're a far better student than I was. Well done.
It's addictive, and for those that are listening, morning pages are a journaling exercise that has a sort of a unique twist to it, but it's about 20 to 30 minutes of free-flowing journaling as a way to exercise the right hemisphere of your brain.
Yeah, we all need a little bit of that. Great. Well, thank you so much, PJ. And thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of Colorado Tech People. If you enjoyed this conversation about building community through sports and technology, please share the episode with someone who loves playing or organizing pickup games. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear more conversations with the founders and builders shaping Colorado's tech ecosystem. Until next time, keep building, keep connecting, and keep creating technology that brings people together. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you, Manisha.